All right, call this meeting in order. And all rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call.
Patty Drew. Here. Mike Womack.
Here.
Jan Solomon.
Here.
And Ryan Dietrich and TJ are not present.
All right, 3.0. So we have approved agenda, the consent agenda. So any questions about the minutes of last month? Nothing there. And we have a new hire, Colette Gabar is our preschool assistant.
Do we have to approve them?
No, you will here in a second. And then we have the agenda for January 26th, 2026. Do we have we need a motion for the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the January 2026 agenda and the minutes of the December 15th board meeting. And is this when we also do the acknowledgement?
Yep.
Okay, and acknowledge the hire of Colette Gabbard as pre-cases.
I'll second.
We have a second? All right. So all in favor?
Patty Drew.
Yes.
Mike Womack.
Yes.
And Jan Solomon.
Hi.
All right. Next thing is 4.0, audit presentation. Clear Trail CPA. Yes.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you for having me. I'm Tiffany Elverum. I'm a manager with Clear Trail CPAs. I'm here to present the audit report for June 30th, 2025 for the district. So I'm going to be going over the governing body letter, which summarizes the audit report as a whole. So on page 1 of the board letter, we discuss the purpose of the audit. For the district, we focused on performing a financial statement audit and a compliance audit required by Oregon minimum standards. And then moving to page 2 of the board letter, we discussed the results of the audit. The district had an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, meaning we gave a clean opinion. And then for the state minimum standards, we found no exceptions or issues requiring comment. And no separate management letter was issued. And then moving down to the significant audit matters section, for the corrected and uncorrected misstatements, management corrected all such misstatements or determined their effects were immaterial. In addition, none of the misstatements detected as a result of our audit procedures were material. And that concludes my summary for the audit the audit results. And I just want to thank Tammy again for all her hard work. And we had another smooth audit season. And it's always a pleasure to work with her. And did anybody have any questions in regards to the audit?
Do you have anything?
No.
Do you have any concerns, thoughts, Patty? Well, I actually had nothing either.
Okay, yeah, and feel free to reach out too if anything pops up. If you guys have any questions later on.
All right.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
All right. So our next is 5.0 is Clatsop County Public Health Youth Prevention Needed Assessment.
Can you guys hear me okay? All to the virtual world as well. That's fantastic.
Sir, mic off.
Maybe not. There we go. Green light. That means go, right?
Yes, go.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again for having us here, Superintendent Peterson School Board and support that are here, and those of you tuning in online. My name is Stephanie Michael. I am a health promotion specialist down in Clatsop County Public Health. I'm also here with my supervisor, Lisa Schuyler, who is helping over there with the things. And as we have questions or things, she might be the better person to answer. The reason we're here is last month we were able to present at the superintendent's meeting about an assessment that had just been completed for Clatsop County, which is the Youth Prevention Needs Assessment. And so what we are on is called kind of our roadshow. We're out here going back to basically partners, stakeholders, those that contributed to this assessment to show the results, to get you guys to understand some of the information. And then hopefully, as we continue on what we are going to do with this assessment, right? Like what are we using this for? What are we going to be doing with it? If you are, if you're online, you can also join in what's called the Mentimeter, because you'll be able to participate as well. So you'll see that at the top of the slide and possibly in the chat. I think Abigail put it in there. Next slide, please.
And then does anyone need an iPad? Would they prefer we might have you scan in later and answer a few questions to give us feedback and your opinions. And if you'd like an iPad, instead of doing that on your cell phone, we have a couple that are already loaded up so that you can use that. So just raise your hand.
It might also, if you want to see the slides better too, we can do that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those we got them available.
Mhm.
Awesome. So just to kind of start off, public health, kind of who we are, what we do. You'll see our list there. Where we're really focused in here for your meeting purposes tonight is definitely in the health promotion and prevention, right? Encouraging healthy lifestyles and reducing use in things like tobacco, alcohol, problem gambling, things of those sorts. So that is what we're here in the context for today. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is showing you what we call the continuum of care. So when we look at what is basically a framework used to classify health interventions based on when they happen and who they target, we refer to this continuum of care. It's the American Academy of Medicine's continuum of care. And you can see as you work your way from promoting healthful things to prevention into treatment and recovery. Just to highlight in this too is you'll see universal, selective, and indicated prevention. When we think in those terms, you think universal, it's great for everybody, right? Something like click it or ticket, right? Putting a seatbelt on, that's just universal prevention for everybody. Selective is when they're basically, there might be a common risk factor. So I think something there particularly would be, and middle schoolers, right? They're at a risk factor potentially for exposure to things that, maybe that didn't happen in elementary school or something to that effect. So we say, we're selectively going to talk to middle schoolers about this, maybe just specifically 6th grade or 8th grade or whatever it might be. So you're being more selective because of maybe just where they are in life, right? Type of thing. So that kind of a component. And then indicated is if there's been use, but they're not quite diagnosed to have the need for treatment, right? So they might have had cigarettes or have tried vaping. But so they would be indicated to get a certain type of prevention, education, and training, but they're not quite into a treatment. They don't have a diagnosis assessed with that. So as you can see across that continuum where people fall out as they do and how we interact and do with that. And again, this was created so that you don't have a community just responding. You have them through the issue and understanding all the places that we can have impact. And I just love working in promotion and prevention because I have always the old adage, right? Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so when we think about that and how we use resources, how we can move through there. But I did want to say too, when you look at that definition of primary prevention, practices, programs, and policies designed to prevent, delay, and reduce the incidence and prevalence of youth substance use. That's coming directly from the Oregon House Bill 3321, where they have defined the focus. So at the state level, they've actually put that into writing, what is primary prevention, which is not the case across other states. Oregon is leading the way on this. When I was at a conference down in Southern Oregon a couple months ago, there was a lot of cheers to this because it has not happened in a lot of states that they have actually defined what is primary prevention, and ours is particularly with youth substance use. Next slide, please. As you all, I'm sure know, right? Youth use is influenced by factors at all levels. From that family, we look into this socio-ecological model showing, hey, the family core around them, the schools and their peers, the community, and the society and policy. So effective prevention addresses multiple layers all at once because they all influence that individual or that youth. So We obviously see schools right on there, right? Family, all the places, community. And therefore too, if one area might be lacking, there's other areas that can have influence, depending. And if there's strengths, you know, they can feel it too. So it's just important to acknowledge that. It's sometimes I know the schools get like, we're responsible for everything, and that's not the case here, right? In prevention, it's at all layers, and we just see you guys as part of that partnership across when we move forward with what we hope to make the plans forward are. Next up, so that was kind of a lot of like theoretical. Here's the continuum of care. Here's, you know, the socio-ecological model. But what does that really look like? Well, and the biggest thing I wanted to kind of use is just this, it's not really a case study, but just one substance use, right? When we look at the use of tobacco, it's the #1 cause of preventative death in Oregon. Worldwide, yes, and definitely here in Oregon is tobacco use, including things like vaping, the nicotine pouches, if you guys have seen those, like Zins and things, that nicotine containing pouch. With that, right, we know impact in rural communities. Clatsop County is a rural community. Jewel, you guys are specifically ruraler than most of us, right? As we come out of Astoria out here, it's like, yep, we are rural, right? Have a historically higher usage rate, almost twice that of the state average, and younger rate uses, right? It's also kind of part of the culture, depending on the industries that we have in our rural communities. The use of those tobacco-like products are seen as kind of just normal. It's normalized into work. And then on the flip side of that, as people move into trying to, you know, get treatment or things that come out of their usage, it's harder for, there's what they call the kind of travel tax, right? Going and getting care somewhere in a more urban area, or just access to care in general. It's harder for rural communities. Why schools, right? And why schools is as plain as you can see in that graphic. 9 out of 10 smokers start before the age of 18. So when you think prevention and you think, how can we like not have people getting into treatment or recovery, we can do a great job if we're starting 9 out of 10 of them if we can get to them before 18, because we know that delayed onset, very, very unlikely that they will pick up smoking later in life. Again, 9 out of 10 times they're picking it up before their age 18. So this was just like an example, right? And how prevention can play an important role in that substance use, especially when we talk about prevention and youth efforts. So important, that's why we're here. That's why I'm talking to you guys. That's why you're spending some time listening to us. The other part of it is there's some standards and requirements around this kind of stuff. So I'm sure you're kind of familiar with your Division 22 standards. It pulls out directly your substance use prevention and intervention program. And that's what we're here to support you with, right? Like that's what we come to the table with as your partner is like, we know you have this also requirement. Let us help you with that. We also offer supports in other health curriculum and standards as well. So just depending on what the needs are. Thank you. So into the YIPNA, why did we do this? Why did we do a youth prevention needs assessment? Well, understanding the prevention issues that need to be addressed, right? We can't create a plan. We can't fix something if we don't know what the issues are. And so that's really what the assessment is meant to bring out. Doing it through, you know, data, information, focus groups, and those different ways of getting the information. It helps design programs or form partnerships to address the youth prevention needs. That's what we're doing right now. We're coming to you with this information as we continue our partnership that we've had longstanding here up in Jewel. Engage with multiple diverse communities who support youth prevention. Schools are not the only place that can support youth, right? We have youth organizations that play a vital role, and we bring everybody to the table. And then lastly, improve our health systems for youth and families, because ultimately, as you all know, right, life is hard. And if there's things that are impacting health, it just makes it much harder. And if we can do things that are preventable, right? Unfortunately, there's things we can't prevent, but there's things we can prevent, like tobacco use, and that can have a huge impact on a child's, you know, life as a youth and as they continue to grow. So that's why we went forward and completed our youth needs assessment. How did we do it? So a little bit more in the details. There were 16 community leader interviews, 4 focus groups held at the middle school and high school levels, 3 adult focus groups, including caregivers and school staff, as well as a community survey that was sent out across all the districts and those responses. And then lastly, pulling data at the kind of local, state, and federal levels that we had access to. Next, please. All right, so some takeaways from this assessment. What's encouraging? most youth are making healthy choices. When you look at the population and then you look at where substance use, it's a smaller number, right? And so that's positive. We're not coming into the game already super behind. But we do need to take into account those that are using substances and try to figure out how we can support them in making choices that are better for their health. There's increased awareness of the risk of vaping. So that's something that we know is having a higher prevalence across the school districts, you know. And then last was the less stigma than in the past around mental health. Kids, the focus groups, they were willing to talk about it and explain like, hey, this is something that I didn't always see happening and now it is. It's openly talked about or things like that. So less stigma there. So those are some great encouraging things to say. What you want. So this is kind of what came out of those focus groups with the youth. Consistent messaging from adults. You know, they're finding that like they're getting told something, but they're seeing something else potentially, right? In the use of substances, or well, this is legal. Why is it bad for me? Those kinds of messagings can be confusing, right? For youth, for sure. Better mental health education and healthy coping strategies, engaging activities, resources that can access without fear of getting into trouble. So that's coming from the youth. This is what we would like to see. Next, please. So here are some actual data shots, and I'll kind of talk to them specifically. So we know that primary prevention should start early. This graph up there is showing you data that we pulled out of the 8th grade and the 11th grade student health survey. And so when you look at the figures there, it's listing substances down the left side: alcohol, marijuana, illegal drugs, prescription opioids, and tobacco. And then the percentage of students that answered that they have used at least one time those substances. So in the 8th grade, you can see that by 8th grade, we're looking at about, look at my own paper because it's too far, about 20% have tried alcohol at least once, right? By 11th grade, that number has increased to about 35%. Something like tobacco, by 8th grade, tobacco product has been used in about 15% of students. And then by 11th grade, tobacco product has been used in almost a little over 25% of students. So understanding where we are. So this is, if substances are already being tried at 8th grade and 11th grade, we know we need to start a little bit earlier, right? Because we aren't preventing it, it's happening. And that's, again, prevention should start early. 4 themes came out of this report when you look at it around communication and education, mental health support, social environment, and community resources. To look at, because we only have time, we're going to dive a little bit into communication and education. So as I've kind of alluded to, youth had said that they're confusing messages from adults. They're kind of getting some confusing messages there. Prevention education doesn't always work well. And that's something, you know, we can look to see why. Is it older curriculum? Is it stuff that's not just making sense to a newer generation of students, right? When are they getting it? How are they getting it? That kind of information. Youth avoid reaching out to help for fear of judgment and getting in trouble. You know, I don't think that's new. I think that's always kind of been there. You don't want to disappoint. You don't want to get in trouble from those that, you know, your parents or family members or things like that, or caregivers. Adults in the prevention or in communication and education theme talked about prevention strategies based on fear don't work well. And we know that. We know that from data. We know that that is not the helpful way to go about preventing youth from trying substances. Cultural taboos make it hard to talk openly about substance use. There's not enough consistent education about the dangers of substance use. Families often don't discuss substance use enough, which can increase the risk of problems. So again, a lot of those thematic components of education and communication that we can say came out of this report. And as we move forward, how are we going to address those and what are we going to look to address that? Next up is youth self-reporting where they're getting their substance information from. And as you can see, the bulk of it is from social media. Upwards of 35% of their information on substances comes from social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. I don't know. I'm still just in Facebook, so I'm not as versatile in the rest of those mediums. But I see a few when I look over the shoulders of some kids, and I'm like, "What is this you're watching?" So we know they're getting their information from me, but they're also getting information from school and health class, right? Mr. Will Beatty is doing a great job in influencing and impacting them and getting them the information here in Jewel. And then family and parents next up, right, of information. And then finally classmates, friends, and then the internet and TV. So this is something that has definitely changed if you think generationally with the coming on the scene of social media, and that's just become the predominant and easily accessible source. This was something that came out of the educator survey. So when we talked about the educators taking their survey, kind of a highlight there, it's a little hard to read, but 75% of school staff have never helped a student find support for substance use. I just want to clarify that doesn't mean that they wouldn't try to. It's just that hasn't happened and the experience hasn't been there for them to say, let me get you to a resource or let me help you with this. So again, I think that kind of highlights there's smaller numbers of students doing substances, but we also have to weigh that against them not wanting to talk to, you know, adults or people for fear of judgment and potentially getting in trouble too. So there's kind of a balance there in what's feeding that. But again, I think pretty much educators across the board are here to help students, whether it's academically or in just life choices. So I don't want that to get construed wrong. Educators stated things like, there is little parental involvement in prevention efforts and a few people attend community events to talk about substance use. They also stated that schools, government agencies, and community groups don't often work closely together, leaving gaps in support for youth who need help. That's something we hope as we bring the community together in response to this assessment, we're gonna help fill those gaps and close those in so there aren't those gaps anymore. Because there's a lot of organizations doing good work and we need to make sure that that's all being synced. Only 7 to 9% of school staff felt that they had enough training to handle substance use problems. Most staff reported having little or no training on how to recognize or deal with student substance use. And that's, again, something that we can look to and figure out what's the best plan forward on that. How do we work that in with all the demands that educators do have on their plate for sure. Staff reported that they lack confidence in key prevention approaches, such as engaging parents and families, facilitating peer-based education, and using evidence-based curricula effective. Again, how do we look at that? How do we support the educator? How do we support, I always say, the boots on the ground, the teachers that are having that interaction day in, day out with the students and know the students, to have that proper training and education to know how to first identify and then get supports as needed. But we do know that there's work to be done. However, we know things that work. Adults being open and honest about their personal experiences and sending clear, consistent messages, no matter who they are. Again, being who they are, expressing it in that way. Education materials that are current and are current and include discussions that are open and flexible, encouraging sharing ideas and resources, and things that are culturally relevant content containing resources. So there's things that we know we can access and utilize to help with that. Next up is our first Mentimeter. So this is where if you have a device, you can put your little camera on and get the QR code there. And then I do have these iPads up front. And if you're on the virtual, you should be able to link to it too. So it should just open up.
Yeah, when I go to the next slide, it should just go to the next slide for them too. But we'd love to have feedback on what it is that we should prioritize when we do our strategic planning. So if anyone would like an iPad, if that's easier to access, to be able to give us that feedback, then we would very much appreciate it.
So it's just QR code right there.
Yep.
Yeah,
You
QR
should be able
code
to scan it with your phone.
Yeah.
So whether you're online or here in the room, it's a pretty quick question.
I'm going to. You can still join if you go to menti.com. So how would you rank these themes from highest priority to lowest in reducing youth substance misuse? So we have each of the themes that came out of the assessment that were identified by educators and caregivers and youth. And we want to know which ones we should be prioritizing as we do our strategic planning of what we can offer to schools and youth.
Would you like to try to move that? You just drag it and drop it, whatever you think.
We do this after? Because I don't even know.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
do you guys want to come back to it? Is that,
Well, that's me.
Yeah.
I don't know about anybody else, but,
yeah, we can come back to it at the end.
I mean, can I do this feedback for you after this
Yeah.
meeting? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
if you want to give feedback afterwards too, then that
Okay.
would be fine. Yeah, we can send it out as like a little, like, Survey Monkey. And
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
give
yeah.
us feedback. Yeah. Yeah. Do that.
What's neat about, Mentimeter is the results start showing up as people are putting their.
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
A little more time or?
Yeah. A little bit more. Okay, so it looks like mental health. And then we'll gather more. Yeah, later.
The next one is kind of an interesting way to approach problems. So if you look on the y-axis there, you see it says importance. So when you read the different numbered bullets to the right, communication, education, mental health, peer pressure, those, putting them in ranking of importance, but then also changeability. Like how much do you feel like we could impact? And by the we, I mean the collective of the groups that will come together and push this agenda forward. So for example, if you think communication is super important and it's super changeable, it would go into the top left quadrant. So you'll drag and drop it up there.
Where it'll be, it's a list. And so it'll give you communication, education, and you're just gonna drag over how easy you think it is for us to potentially change it as a community and how important you think it is. And then after you do each of them, it will pop up on the screen with your answers and everybody else's together. So you just have to think about one at a time. And then hopefully there will be some things that are important and easy to change. So they show up in the right-hand corner, and then we'll know that's things that community feels like we could potentially come together and make a big impact on.
So yeah, it looks like everything is important, which that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then where things fall out on how impactful or how do you think we can ability to change? Thank you. Yeah, we'll send out the link too, because I know you had a couple of board members that weren't able to be here, so we can capture that data as well. Which would be great. Awesome, thank you. Good thing. Move on to the next.
Yeah.
Okay. Our time. So where are we going from here, right? The assessment has been complete. We are out here talking to those who have vested interests, and we're driving next into what we call the community-wide prevention plan, where we work to co-design with schools and youth-serving organizations that will work to have what the priorities are going to be, figure out our strategies, and always have a component of equity and sustainability as part of that plan. As we know, we also make sure that we are using evidence-based strategies, sharing information, giving proper prevention education, positive alternatives, working to change the environment, working together, and referral to services as part of that action plan. So the way we kind of envision this happening on a timeline, for those of you that are kind of timeline people, we're going to be working these roadshows, going to school boards, staff meetings, our other partner organizations, basically through March. In April, we hope to have our kickoff meeting of all of the partners that are decided to participate with us. And that will be probably about, we hope to have the first one in person, because there's just something about meeting people in person. And then from then on, we'll do a virtual component of that for another 3 meetings. So a total of 4 meetings as we work on the plan. And then come back. That should be done by the end of school, so that when we come back at the end of August, beginning of September, we have a recommended implementation of what we think we should be doing going forward. And that, again, should have the buy-in of school representatives, student serving organizations, ourselves at Public Health, and those other organizations that find themselves as part of a youth serving population. So with that, I think we're So the last Mentimeter, which is, what do you think you should focus in reducing youth substance misuse? Or what should we focus on? Like, what comes to the top of your head when you think about substance use in youth and what we can focus on? So this is kind of meant to be free form. If there's something you want to get into, the inputs, or if you need to think about it longer, that's fine too.
Yeah, you can always just give a thumbs up if you're not going to write anything now, and if you're going to answer it when we send it out later, that's fine too. And we have.
Right. And I would be not a prevention specialist if I didn't mention to every audience I have available that we are working with your principal as well as your school-based health center to bring a prevention fair and family night again this year, the Bridges and Beyond. Looks like we do have a set date of April 8th. So mark your calendars, and we'll be rolling out the details later, but the date has been set. Those are just some pictures from last year when kids came through during health periods, I believe, and worked the scavenger hunt through the different stations around different substances, and then the family night with the new drug talk and also some of the resource tables. So again, we're looking forward to it again. Thank you all for having us here tonight. Really appreciate your time, and we are available if something strikes you as you're driving home tonight. My email, my phone number, it's all up there. Please give me a call, text, email, whatever is easiest for you. And I'll be happy to get back to you and get that information in as we move forward with this. So thank you again, really appreciate it. And here is also a copy of the report for the school board. So if you guys want to kind of share that amongst yourselves, but it's electronically too. And you can go to the website right there with the QR code that's on the piece of paper that was handed out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then, of course, if you guys have any questions for us, we're happy to answer questions right now too.
I just want to clarify one thing. So
Yeah.
April, you said is and beyond April 8th?
April 8th is your Bridges and Beyond. Yeah. Yeah. We just, I just got off that planning meeting this morning. So
Perfect. Okay.
thumbs up. Good to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That was 5.0. Now 6.0, public comment. Any public comment? No, no one talk? Okay. Thank you, guys. All right. I go right into 7.0 financial reports.
Okay, we're gonna turn this back on.
Or Tammy can just talk from here, unless you want me to put her on the big screen. Do you want to be on the big screen, Tammy? She said no.
Sure she does.
Yes, we do.
I don't know if anybody has any questions about them. I don't think there were any surprises or anything in there this month. Anything unexpected.
I'm Kathy.
You have anything
No.
on it? I'll get on financial. Okay. So I guess you're off the hook, Tammy.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 8.0 principal report.
Yeah, so I just wanted to just talk about some of the things happening at the school in the last couple months. And just a real quick note on evaluations. So December, that was a busy month. It was very filled with a lot of student activities. So they shared their musical talents during the winter band concert, which despite being a little earlier in the day as planned due to weather, was so well attended and showcased the hard work of our music program. Our high school quartet also participated in off-campus learning experience at Tillamook Cheese Factory, connected classroom learning with real-world exposure. And the month concluded with winter break, providing students and staff time to rest and recharge. So in January, it was a strong return to school with a variety of academic, extracurricular, and enrichment activities across grade levels. We have a robotics club, art club, continuing to help give kids opportunities to build skills in problem solving and creativity. We also had students participate in honor band events in Forest Grove, and elementary students in grades 2 through 4 attended a field trip to the Columbia Maritime Museum, enhancing social studies learning through hands-on experience. And the FFA students also represented the school at the Natural Resource Center at the Clatsop County Fairgrounds, and to strengthen connections with community partners and industry professionals. That's our little report. So then when it comes to evaluations, we just have a couple more formal evaluations that we're going to be doing this week. And then that should be about it with evaluations. And then hopefully next month I can come and talk about testing and what kind of tests we use and what that'll look like with our summative and all that. So that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for him?
No.
All right. If he only had one, he has 8.
Well,
All right. Superintendent report.
Abby, if you'd like to leave at this point. Okay. So the safety committee, which meets monthly, I want to continue to put this forward for the district. And I heard me at the last meeting also talking about our emergency operation plan, which has not been, it hasn't had a lot of momentum in the last number of years. So I want to make sure we are not ignoring that aspect of it. So I decided, through the last meeting we had some discussions, and I did put together and I handed out to everybody here. We do need it back because it's very much draft form. And so I did put in the packet because it does have some example names in here, but it's not set in the stone yet. But this is basically an incident command system. And we've had the fire department involved in some of our meetings, the sheriff's department also occasionally involved in some of our meetings as well with the district here. And so basically out of the 3 components, fire department, sheriff's department, and the Jewel School District here, each entity has its own responsibilities during an response of some sorts. And in the discussions we had as a safety team, not one entity when they arrive or wherever it's taking place is the sole responsibility of the whole incident that's taking place. We all have our responsibilities. So I wanted to define what the Jewel School District's responsibility is, and this is the incident command system. And so I will be sharing this with the fire department and sheriff's department this week on the perspective of the district. So we have the incident commander, which is primarily one of the administrators. And I mean, I'll go through just some of this. I don't want to read it ad nauseum. But other responsibility says is the overall authority for the incident, where the incident commander establishes the objectives, approves the lockdown, evacuation, shelter, and unification, and then coordinates and transitions to unified command with emergency responders. So unified command, again, is the fire department and the sheriff's department. So all 3 entities are involved here. The command staff, I have a parent liaison, safety officer, and then also someone who's involved with the emergency services and the public. Again, I'm not saying out loud we have identified here at the moment. And all those individuals on the command staff report to the incident commander, whether that's Mr. White or myself at that time. Now, the next section underneath, which is the operations section, this is where you heard our help people here talk about the boots on the ground specifically. So we have the operations section chief, the OSC. This individual is responsible for all the individuals underneath. He will report to this person. This individual, who's the operations section chief, then will report all the items to the incident command, which is whether it's, Mr. White or myself here. So we have a student accountability and release unit. And this is, for example, if we have a reunification situation, we want to make sure that we have good priority about where our students are and where they're going, who's connecting with the families and whatnot. We have a medical unit / first aid, security perimeter unit, also that whether that's here in the district, right, or outside the district on campus, or even off the campus here when we get to that point, if you were. And then the transportation traffic unit. And then the planning section. So the planning section chief is basically somebody who is not necessarily directly involved, but dictating all the things that they see and components going on and taking notes. So during the time when all the action is taking place, this person is literally keeping feedback of what's taking place. So after the fact, we will go back and look at how things were handled. Logistics section chief, we have 2 of them. Again, that is I didn't say what it is yet, but that is taking radios and microphones, all the components of items that we would need, and grabbing those items and bringing them to a specific area of the district so we know we have access to those items. And then the finance administration section, this is post incident. So when you start talking about insurance issues and administrative issues that go at a legal standpoints, you'll have individuals who will be doing things after that is all said and done, and the rest of the community is moving beyond the incident here. In a small district, some of the challenges, staffing, number of people we have here. And so I did put in here the incident command system roles here, maybe combined depending upon size. That could be in the safety team to discuss, but that would probably not be the best course of action if we can help it. If we can try not to double roles on individuals. So that was what I had with them. What I have done since their meeting, I promised them, is I would actually take the actual roles themselves and create narratives, brief narratives around the functions. So when this is passed down system to system, but from individuals to individuals in this district, it's not being recreated over and over by new people involved. That it will be in a shared drive with our safety items that we have for the district and embedded in our emergency operation. This will be followed, and all we need to do is just slap in different names and whatnot as we go forward. The idea ultimately is to actually have table discussions about incidents. What do they call it? It was tabletops. There you go, tabletops. Basically, we take scenarios and we talk about it like we're doing right here in practice with all the individuals involved. So I just wanted this to be in front of you, so when you hear me talk about it, that you understand we are doing things with what we're talking about, and we're moving forward with this information. I will forward this off and have conversations with our local fire and sheriff's department also this week. And then I will ask them at some point for our next safety team meeting coming up here in February if they would please like to join us, because we are going to go over this again, and then the next steps, whatever that might be as we move forward. I just don't want these out there in the public yet again because of the names that are on here. These are discussed, but I haven't connected with everybody yet to make sure they're okay with those roles here.
It looks really good.
Plan is to do it well once and not recreate it 100 times.
Have you had help in doing this?
Yeah, I created the outline, and then as a safety team, we discussed all these components of it. In terms of help with this, this is me. This was me.
Any questions? All right. Point two.
Okay, let me grab it here. So I want to give you an update. We've had the Sitka Art program. I believe this is our second year. I'm trying to remember. So Sitka Art, I wrote down, this is on the support letter I wrote for them, oh boy, back on December. So I was in the district after all staff had left for the holiday break. And they had asked if I would write them a support letter. Long story short, their funding, like a lot of things going in Oregon, their funding was not renewed through their grant program. And so they have moved up north. I believe currently they are serving Lincoln County, Tillamook County, and now Clatsop County. And what they do is they come into the districts and they do a monthly art program with their elementary kids. And in all respect, it's majority of time for rural school districts to provide supports in the arts programs, and we don't really have them in these areas, so they can have access to them. And so I just want to give you a heads up that it has been a wonderful asset for the district, a wonderful thing for our kids and for our community to see their kids going home and bringing these examples and talking about them. But that, as of this year, biennium, after the close of this year, this will no longer be unless they can find some support funding. And so I just want you to be aware, if you're interested in reading this, I can leave it here, but I did write them a support letter in hopes that some other grantee will review their request and provide them some continued funding for the next biennium.
I just don't remember ever hearing this before.
Oh, yeah, we've had, when they first came in, I did bring in to the board, it was probably a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, when they first started. And they've been in here for a while.
Okay.
I cannot remember if they did a presentation at the time, but they've been in our district for quite a while now.
Okay, so they actually come and
And they come in, they give a monthly lesson all the way from pre-K through fifth. I think it's fifth grade. They bring all the materials and arts. I even at one point put in here that I had the opportunity to observe a lesson. It was a photography and poetry project led by guest artist Mike Voss in a fifth classroom. They are fully engaged in creative exploration, developing confidence, expressive skills, and pride in their work. And the team demonstrated understanding how to successfully implement programming in a small rural school with very limited resources for kids to see how easy and quick and explorative they can be with the art.
You said they
Project.
come monthly?
Yeah, I believe December they do not, because I believe it was a shorter month. I could be wrong. There was one of the months, maybe it was November. But yeah, and they stop after the month of May.
Well, fingers crossed they can get some more funding.
Yeah, the other superintendents, we had a meeting last Friday and they didn't receive information from them, so I forwarded it to them. They all were excited. They were a little bit concerned that this was going to be something that could go away. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Any more questions on that? Okay, 9.3, Oregon Health Authority. OHA.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so water. This is something I know I've talked to you guys before about. And so I felt like the time was right to start pushing at this point. So I did reach out. I think I mentioned to you guys at the last month that I did reach out to discuss some concerns about our future water. So I reached out to the Oregon Health Authority and I had asked them, I said, given our size and our and limited technical capacity, I'm asking for their guidance about the following. And I had some discussion with our board chair also, with some of the connections he has out there in the community. And so I asked for the following guidance to help us understand the regulatory considerations associated with modifying or expanding, and I mentioned that also last time, existing surface water source. Two, I said evaluate feasible options for improving year-round water reliability, which has been a problem consistently since I've been in the chair and even before then. And then identify appropriate next steps, including potential planning or engineering requirements. At one point, I know I talked with you also 2 years ago about Senator Merkley's office. I had conversations with the secretary, and once they found out that our source of water was not on our actual campus here, so I had to seek out a different route here. And the last one is understand potential funding pathways to support implementation. So on January 15th, and so first and foremost, to backtrack again, we had a hydrogeologist come out and I reported on it at the last time we had a board meeting, and they gave some maps and studies, and they also referenced the Vine Maple area with the water situation going on over there. The gentleman did not provide our district with any actual maps pertinent to our specific area, except for one, which showcased where we have drilled before some water out in the back here. And also obviously the Beneke Creek and the Halem and where the best areas would be to drill. And it's nowhere on this side of the highway. It's on that side of the highway. I also had some information about our current wells that we have here in the district, and it did my best to read through them. I did have a gentleman come out to help me go through that because this is newer for me to read here. And on the 15th, Dan Page from the Circuit Rider Technical Assistance Program came out. And if we're going to find funding for whatever our next area is, he came out for about 2 hours and we walked around look at the whole campus. Did not go out to the wells, too much mud, which I honestly told him was another reason why I really think we should take another look. Because you have about that much mud to get out there. Our vehicles aren't getting out there in the middle of winter. And I told our maintenance manager, we're taking our truck out there to showcase because we won't be able to get it out there, let alone get it out, back to the campus here. So I did use that as another opportunity to say, here's another problem for us. So Dan Page, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name. He's a senior engineer for Civil West. He came all the way out from Albany, Oregon to come out here to take a look at this program. And ultimately, I mean, I jotted some notes in my notebook here. Ultimately, he will be the person working with us in the district. He's allowed to give us 10 hours of free work through the Circuit Rider program. And he wants a water feasibility study. So I just put a few words here just because I was listening at home or wherever they're listening to, and also here, I want to make sure we're very clear what this feasibility study will be. And so he said, basically, what is the best and safest and most affordable way to make sure we have reliable drinking water now and into the future? That will have to be discussed, and that will be in the feasibility study. The study will also help us to clearly define the problems that we are having, such as reliability, capacity, which has been number one, specifically when we built the new fourplex, which was not hit into the study. if we've been having water issues since then. Whether these are short-term or long-term problems. And I'm not going to say what it is because I don't have the science data to back up what my personal beliefs are. It will allow us to look at variable options instead of jumping to one solution. As a study, we'll consider several possible ways to address the problem and upgrading what we already have. So we've discussed about taking our current well and potentially upgrading it, taking like the other well that we have filled in with rock in the background, plus also taking a look at the areas that we've drilled before, whether it's even more touching that. I'm going to guess that's a big no. And then also taking a look at what we have directly almost across from us, which is the largest water source we have here, which is in the Halem River. And I did talk about water rights and all those different components as well. Just as important, if we move forward with a project, I'm going to say if, again, that we understand the costs involved. And I'm also bringing that to you as well, because we've also talked, we are also facing our own fiscal situation in the district with the HCP. And also if state school fund does come forward, as I mentioned before, Oregon's not in a financial blessing right now. You have districts even around us that have already had some cuts already mid-year. That's how things have been going this year. So making sure that we understand the costs involved. This includes the project costs, the ongoing expenses. I think sometimes people forget that these things are not only just up front, but what are you going to be spending long term, and actually project and plan for that in the budget year, and as what is realistically affordable for our district. Again, what's realistically affordable. The study will also identify potential challenges early on, such as permitting, regulatory hurdles, before we commit to anything. And finally, it's going to help our district when and if we decide to seek out support for federal, state, or federal funds. And so it could be anything from helping to prepare that to potentially even looking at a brand new well or something. I mean, I'm open to that. I did talk to Dan Gage about a potential catchment system in the district, and he advised that that's usually where most people bring the discussion out the bat. And his opinion, he said that is not a wise situation to bring into. And I need to get more information from him why he thought that was not.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. Okay.
Yeah, that was the first thing he said, that he says, contrary to what you believe, he says that we find that actually not to be the solution for most entities. I also brought up information to him saying, well, we have a treatment center here, and I showed him the whole system. He says, you have everything here embedded to help your cause. And I said, well, even more so for our cause. He said, this is a community hub. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to weave with our emergency operation plan in terms of this is the place, this is where we're having the community come, I guess, along with potential water situations with hood to coast coming in. We got people living here. If we have a disaster of any kind, I'm going to assume most people are going to probably look to the school site for support. He says you have the makings in that avenue to really push for potential a number of options. I was a little bit at that. There's a number of options to go for. Downside. He said the circuit rider program, their funding is completely depleted right now. He said some of the challenges they have is there's so many entities reaching out that they usually don't turn anybody down. He can still provide the 10 hours, and I said, whatever's provided until then, he said their next round of funding won't be available till August of 2026 here. So that does put us in a little bit of a pause for a moment. You know, it just really started pushing in the last month and a half. But I said, in the meantime, could we still move forward with what potentially we may be able to do with this? So he's going to reach out to the water hydrogeologist, Brian Dougherty, I believe is his name. And he is going to communicate with him the plan that took place over at Maple area and see how it might pertain to the Jewel School District and what we need to do with this. But without this feasibility study, we aren't going anywhere with this. And so I just want to share with you guys that that's where we're at right now. If you think I'm going down a hole I shouldn't go, I'm going to ask you to tell me. Otherwise, I'm going to keep pushing.
If we don't have water, we don't have school. And we've got, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
there's no getting around it.
Even if it's 3 month, I believe a couple years ago, it was almost 4 months we didn't have consistent water.
Mhm.
And we're having trucks and trucks of, H2O being brought into the district.
Yeah.
It's a little bit embarrassing to see it when we pull into work and there's this giant tank of water being.
Still,
Yeah, well, not right now, but no, we haven't had that for a few months at this point. But
and what's that do with your fresh water system now? That takes a special license person,
yeah, there's all
and he's
those-
retiring.
So that is definitely my radar. I've been making connections with that also. So I have I have a couple sources. I don't want to mention names or anything at this moment, but I do have some sources. Our current water individual also has offered potentially some services to help us guide through, or to keep us through while we're looking for that component. But that's partially embedded with the job posting for that specific position that opens up here, which will be my goal at the end of February. We're talking about making this position. So that has been,
That's a big certification.
that has been,
For football.
the top subject, the top of the job description for the rest of the district, for that very specific position. I may even come to the board at some point to say, we do have an individual who runs that. I know he's over at Seaside at the moment, whether or not we have him come out, but it does need to be checked daily. That would be a problem. And so we do have some options, but, you'll be hearing more from me. As we go down that road.
More water questions? You all good? All right, 9.4, natural resource dinner.
I know you'll even have, can I plug this in?
We just have to unplug this other guy. There you go. Just a second, your computer wants to have some two displays.
All right, so I had to go back and toss the days together, so I don't exactly remember the day. This was on a Thursday in November. The natural resource dinner, we have taken part in this, let's see, 2 of the last 3 years that we've, this is our 5th year doing this. At one point, you may remember, if you've been here, we had a check ceremony before with Lindsay Davis. We had the number, and it was for the amount of $20,000 to support CT programs. And what was interesting about this is you got to hear from the actual student that started this entire event. She got up in front of over 700 people, and I'll show you a picture of the crowd in a moment. And she got up there and she spoke about how this whole thing came through. I can't remember the subject specifically, but she was asking for some resources for her classroom support for her CT program in her school. And they were struggling to find some funds. So she had reached out to Lindsay Davis and from Hampton Lumber and said, with the organization be willing to donate just a few dollars or a few funds to support the CT program. And she said, no, we can do better with that. She says, we can actually support and just do a whole fundraising evening. And so that's what came from it. And so all the community really has shown up in the last, this is the 5th year, as I'm sitting there, and I'll show you in just a moment, our table of people you sat and you look across the room and you hear some people say that your community truthfully showed up. That's an understatement of all. So during this time, this is a table that the Jewel FFA program had here in the back corner of the fairgrounds, and all the way around the side was all the other 4 other school districts of Clatsop County, representing all 5 Clatsop County school districts. And all the funds that are fundraised during this time go to the CT programs from all 5 schools. And so you have students are specifically dressed in those cool FFA uniforms there, representing their districts, talking about their programs and showcasing leadership and pride for what they're doing for their schools. And I will say, watching the 5 that were there as they're moving around, we had all of them at their tables here. We also had them up front. We had one student actually stand up and speak in front of everyone and provide some information about some of the award ceremonies that were going on for acknowledgements for some of the community members out there. And then you also the dinner time, walking around all the tables, politely asking, helping serve some food or taking dishes and whatnot. It was just a really cool moment. We had one of our community members there, and her son was also involved. And I told her, I said, this is really fun to watch. You get to see leadership, you see students from all different districts here, all at the top of their game. not just within the district, and they're learning from one another. And then they also get to see how a community actually supports what's going on and why they're supporting what they're doing in our schools. So it was really fun to watch. So these kids, I believe, had a wonderful time. There's some of the crowd. There's your jewel table. We had a table of 10, but we actually had 11 individuals come out to this with support. And it was an auction at the same time. Betsy Johnson was in there, was running the actual auction itself. Trying to get donations. You had a little bead activity as well, where people were donating some funds for that. And then you had a lot of auctions that the students and all the programs put together. They didn't put that in there, but we had a nice, wonderful FFA basket put together that people were auctioning off on to help raise some funds. The tables themselves also. Every individual in that room donated their own funds to be able to be at these tables. And so there's a lot of money being generated just for the table of 10 for these programs. So that's Team Jewel. I didn't know anyone was behind us taking photos. They're there up front talking before Betsy Johnson goes into the donation aspect. And so there they are, smiling. And before that, they had major presentations at the screens talking about some of the major leadership in Clatsop County.
Now, is that only our students?
No, this is a mixture of all the
okay.
schools we have. And you didn't see them all, so going off on the side, a little bit shy to come up there and Betsy was yelling, "Get on the stage!" But no, that's not. There's some of ours in there, some of them are off the side.
Okay.
And then that's what the crowd looked like that night. It did not look like that. I think, didn't you go one of the years, Patty, or I can't remember who went. We had a number of people come with us my first year. We didn't go last year, but we were going this year. They raised $189,000.
Wow.
Yeah, they raised 120, I think, last year. The goal this year was 200,000. So they raised a decent amount. Now, whether they split that all, I don't know, but if they do, that's a good healthy $34,000 for CT programs, which is substantial. That's a substantial amount. But I will say our students, I have goosebumps. I'm sitting around and I know who I was and I'm sitting in there teaching. I know what I am at my nonprofit group when I stand and work in this office here. I was proud. I'm very proud of what I was watching with these kids. If we're growing them to be part of a community, this is what I wanted to see. I mean, they were up front, they were out there with everybody engaged. Not a single one of them was not engaged. It was perfect. So just I want to report that because I know you mentioned a little bit in here. I thought that was well done. Well done.
Thanks for sharing that.
Questions? All right, good. Okay, we'll move on to 9.5 HCP update.
Okay, so we have an update. It's been months, and I didn't know it has been months. So our appeals, that we had prior is now being open for oral argument in person. So our attorney will be there. Before this was scheduled, I already have a post-secondary transition conference I'm heading off with our new SPED director, Suzanne Harris, as I'm working at the Clatsop County Superintendent's leading a transition program for the districts in Clatsop County here. I will most likely Zoom in. I'll be in Salem at the time. No, Eugene. I'll be in Eugene. This will be in Salem. It's about an hour and 10 minutes away. If I can get myself down there, our attorneys, it's not necessary, but I definitely will be in Zoom or in person. It's on the 18th of March at 9 a.m. in the Justice Building in the courtroom section.
In Salem or
It's in Salem.
in Salem?
Yeah, this is in Salem. We still have the HCPs at the federal level. I've given some updates sometimes about whether or not what's going to happen at the federal level, whether this is going to be passed or not. For what it's worth, I've said multiple times, I do not believe it will be passed at the federal level with our current administration, but that still doesn't dictate here at the local level with the state that we have. So this is what we've been waiting for, this opportunity to have some of our voice heard. And if it's allowed to be heard beyond this, then we can go forward and do quite a bit more work. But until that takes place, this is what we've been waiting and sitting on our head. I want to remind again, everyone that I mentioned our first quarter report was our lowest quarter report that we have had since 2011. And that we're also going in, negotiations and other things. And we talked about the state of Oregon also having a fiscal challenges in the middle of the year here. And also the ACP having a direct impact on our very school district here. How important this is that we've been putting in 3.5 years of work trying to push through this and see what we can come up with this. But I want to remind you, there's no guarantee. Obviously, you know what is going to be the outcome of this here. But as I prepared for the budget for the next year ahead, there's a lot that I don't know in terms of where we're going to go financially with the state and with this. And previous superintendents in previous years have not had to have this as a concern moving forward. And so we did the best that we could for the last school year, meaning this current school year. And I will do my damnedest to do the same thing for you guys for the school for the year after as well. And we're going to be very fiscally responsible with our budget for next year. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Any clarifications or on HCP? All right. So 9.6, DFA local wellness policy.
All right, so this is a massive, this is a pretty big policy. So the wellness policy, just so you know, is 7 pages long. And triannually, so every 3 years, we're supposed to be updating this. And not just taking an OSBA, Oregon School Board Association model policy and looking at it like I do with most of my other policies and having conversations, and dictating a few things and then passing it back and forth and we discuss. This specific policy has very specific requirements by the state of Oregon, Oregon Department of Education. So I sent out a notice to our community. And I said, inviting parents, students, teachers, school health officials, board members, and members of the general public who are interested in wellness and student health and school nutrition to take part in the review. And I'm not gonna say it's not a fun thing to go through because it's a serious conversation. And it doesn't have a lot of fight for people wanting to say, I can't wait to tackle that. To be honest, it can be a little but we did have a group of 8 individuals and we had 2 community members. We had another individual who works with the district from outside, but comes in and provides some support. And then obviously inside we had our staff as well. And I won't go through it today. I just want you to be very much aware because it's near ready, but I didn't have enough time to get all ready for a presentation here. But I did put together agendas for both of them. So we had 2 different specific meetings about our goals. And our goals, as I said on here, make sure I have it on here, is to assess the progress we've made toward meeting our wellness policy goals. That was number 1. Review our compliance with state and federal requirements, and then compare our current policy with the updated draft model wellness policy, which is about 70-page document. So it was quite a bit of work, and I'll give you the logistics next board meeting about what happened. I will. I'll send all this information to you if you want to read it. But we did have these agendas. We had the meeting 1 review notes that we came out of that first meeting with. We had the review meeting number 2, and then I have the draft version, which was much more solidified when it's all said and done about our public report and our steps moving forward to update that wellness policy. So you're aware. And I did talk to the team and say it was so cordial with everybody involved with community involvement. They were thrilled to be there. They said the district felt very warm and welcoming. They appreciated that, which is important. I told them I appreciated that, to hear that feedback from them. And they said they want to be involved with more things. And I'm like, well, that's what I want to hear also. So that was refreshing. And I'm going to say it, when I was teaching the band program, fun was a different context, but in the chair that I'm in now, this was actually quite fun. I rather enjoyed it. I rather enjoyed the process. So anyway, so I just want to give you a heads up that this will be coming to you for the February board meeting. I just didn't want to rush it.
Well, even if you thought it was fun, they'll probably still only do it every 3 years.
Ruining my fun. Okay. I think I got my board stuff next. Oh, there we are. Okay.
Good with all that? Okay. So we go to 9.7, JEFA, closed campus discussion.
Okay, and this has come up more than a few times here in the district with various individuals in the community. So this is more of a board, I want to say a board work session per se, but I didn't want to throw something. I don't think it's going to be a long discussion, but I'm just looking for information and guidance from everybody here. So I like at both policies. You have a closed campus and students of legal age. And as I said before, this has come up a number of times for the district. It really has. So closed campus, what it means by that is students may not leave the school during the school day without clearance to the office and notification from parents of the school will be required. So in other words, a student wants to exit the district, they must have parental guardianship acknowledgement before they exit the district. This is other campus areas may be determined as off limits, blah, 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 blah. But the gist of what I just mentioned to you, that's what makes this a closed campus. And then the other one, which is the students of legal age. And so this is where I want some clarity, because maybe I'm reading it wrong, but I don't feel like I am. So every student 18 years of age or older will be deemed an adult and will have the same rights and responsibilities as an adult. And I don't disagree with that at all. Adult students, like all other students, will comply with board policy, administrative regulations, established rules, pursue the prescribed course of study, and submit to the authority of teachers and administration. So that's where I get a little bit of dissension sometimes from some community members about whether or not, if a student is 18 years old and is legally deemed an adult, that they can go ahead and either sign themselves out or do not need the parental guidance, guardianship to have acknowledgement that they're going to be leaving, that they can sign themselves out. If there's a standing order, and if there's a standing order with a parent or guardianship, I would say that's a different context. But for them just to be able to sign themselves out, even though they're 18, it still says that they must comply with all policies and regulations and established rules from the district.
The district policy just says they have to sign themselves out. This is closed campus. This is, I'm gonna go have lunch at the Elderberry during lunchtime, but you can't physically get up there and back in the time period we provide them.
So walk me through that again, because closed campus in my mind is.
Closed campus is, most schools, let's take, Scappoose, open campus. Lunchtime, every kid leaves school, most of them head down to McDonald's, Mod Pizza, Taco Bell, all up campus.
So I want to go back just from, so
That's
closed,
open campus.
I was going to say, yeah, there you go.
Now they come back. Closed campus, you can't do that. There's nowhere you can physically go in this school to get something during lunch and be back in the time period we give for lunch.
Correct.
We would have to extend that period to make that even feasible.
Correct.
At a reasonable drive. I mean, you can't run a Baker store back in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
No.
You can't.
And you could, but it safely, intelligently is that's your open, closed campus in my perspective. But as 18 years of age, saying a child can't go sign themselves out, they're not a child, they are an illegal adult to go home because they're sick.
But it says.
Well, that's totally different if they're sick. Totally different.
Why would they
if they're
not
sick.
be able to sign themselves out? They're a legal adult.
I don't care. You're here going to school at Joe School. We are responsible for you no matter what.
At 18, you're not
No, if you're
responsible
still
for
at
saving the
school-
property.
No, if you're still at school and they get hurt, who's going to be responsible? Us, not the student.
Well, it's that second paragraph of the students of legal age that makes me not understand, because it says adult students, because we just defined what adult students was. It says adult students, like all other students, will comply with board policy.
That's right. And if
There
we,
it is. So that's why I'm confused.
That's closed policy.
Correct.
This is a students of legal age. This is a
But-
student
But
of age.
it's talking, complying with board, this is board policy. And the board policy is this is a closed campus. So that's why I'm confused.
Closed campuses because they're coming back. Closed check is signing out and I'm not coming back to school. I can see having an issue if I want to leave school and come back to school without prior arrangements. You don't know what I'm doing once I leave campus. But if I'm leaving campus and I'm not coming back to school.
Yeah.
Versus I'm gonna go home and come back.
But if a student leaves campus and the district has no knowledge of where they're going, and something happens on the way, they pull out of the highway and something horrific happens, how are we not gonna be?
They're 18 years of age. They have that right. You're taking their legal rights away from them.
I'm gonna disagree with that.
I'm going to disagree with you too. We're still responsible for
How are you
those children.
responsible?
They're enrolled in our school. We are responsible for them. Just like if they go,
They're 18 years of age.
I don't care how old you are. If I get here at school, I'm going to sue you. And I'm 75 freaking years old. Okay? 18 is gonna do the same thing. Mom and dad are gonna sue us.
Disagree with you.
No, if we have a closed campus, kids are here all the time. I don't care if you're
So,
18,
What's the
20,
difference?
25.
I sign them out.
If you sign them
What's
out,
the difference?
you're the parent.
They're
You can-
18,
I don't care. You still have to sign them out.
They're under your guardianship still, they,
not at 18 years of age.
they're not under your.
They're under their own liability.
Oh, I don't believe that
I'm
at
not,
all.
they can't,
I don't believe that at all.
they could go do something. I'm no longer responsible for them. Not at
But-
18 years of
But
age.
they're still enrolled in our school. I guess maybe that's a trick question for the lawyer. Find out.
That's true.
Because I still think we're responsible for them no matter what.
Because this, I mean, and truthfully
Once
honest
they
about this,
sign out, no.
because this really has come up.
Oh, I'm sure it
A
has.
few
And I'm
times.
sure it's probably your kids, right?
It's come up
Yeah.
with other families.
I'm sure. But if they're enrolled in our school, we are responsible for them. Correct? If they're on the bus on a field trip, we are responsible for them, whether they're 18 or 12. Correct? Yes, we are.
That's my viewpoint. That's my view.
Yeah, we are responsible for them.
And I'm bringing it to the board because I want to make sure I am not reading it right. And that's how I view it, but I also, and I appreciate it. That's what I'm bringing. I appreciate it.
The students get hurt all the time and school doesn't pay for nothing.
But there's two different policies here.
Yep.
One for closed campus,
Closed
has
campus.
nothing to do with
Closes,
anything.
allowing them to leave and come back.
No, I want closed campus. They were
I
not leaving.
agree with that. I'm
They're-
fine
they're
with the
not
closed
leaving.
campus.
See, and my view of closed campus has always been, it is closed, you come on in and you're here.
Yes,
It's not you can leave and then it's always been you're here. 'Cause I
Right.
remember when I went to my high school, we couldn't leave period, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even the staff. I mean,
How
how does that work?
student, I mean, I believe this is
Just
students,
This is
only
only
staff,
Staff.
staff,
Okay.
yeah, they never put on staff, even when, I'm thinking when I was a kid, but even here, this is all for students.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll run this by our legal, but I did look at other districts as well, and they're just the same. I mean, they're very, very, very similar between the students of legal age and closed campus. And where I'm caught is that students of legal age, that second sentence, for me, adult students, like all the students, will comply with everything else, and everything else, all of our handbooks, all of our guidance, even this board policy rules, because this is asking those ones to rule. That's how I do that. But but I wanted to throw it at you because like I said, I've had multiple times in my last couple of years, this comes up. It's not every day, but it does.
but I mean, if mom and dad are going to give permission for this student to leave,
Correct.
then we have to abide by that.
And I would be in understanding that even if it was a standing order, that if, if something were to place and the student needs to leave, we are aware. What makes me, I mean, if something is consistently taking place, but if it's just randomly, and whenever they want to leave, just let them leave whenever they want to leave. That makes me very uncomfortable because, even though, I hear what you're saying, we would get sued. I know we would get sued immediately. And I'm not at all confident that this would hold
Yeah.
for us as a district. Because again, I personally do believe in this role that we are responsible for these kids from the moment the bell starts, or excuse me, they're up on campus to the time the bell rings and they're off campus. And out of our time.
Yeah. Well, just like the workshop we went to at
If you
Pace.
hold them against their will at 18 years of age.
But just like when we went to our workshop at Pace,
Mhm.
even when you're on a field trip and they're doing their after graduation, we are still responsible for those kids. Most of them are 18, but we're still responsible for them. So what makes this any different? We're still responsible. And I don't want kids to just walk out because I want you to do what I want. You're here at school. We are responsible for you. You need to stay until the bell
How many
rings.
kids at
and then
18
you're
do you
gone.
think walk out and tries to leave school? They're at school at this point of their life at 18, with what few months they have left.
Oh,
Do you
don't
think
put
they're
it past
willing just to
anybody, Mike.
walk out?
Don't put it past any of these kids.
They're here.
Oh, I got something
Kids that
I
are
gotta
still
go
here at
do.
18.
No,
You've
I
got
gotta go
kids
do
that aren't
something
even
today.
at school at 16 years old, and you're not even looking to get them in school. You're worried about the kid that's 18 that's already here.
No, I would
Why
like
don't you
to
be
get,
worried about the ones that don't show up to school?
let's go get them. Let's get a truant officer and go get them.
What's in your policy?
Well, and you
Haven't
get,
you enforced any of it? But you're wanting to enforce something on an 18-year-old that is legally of age that can make a decision on their own. They can sign to the service at
you can
18.
make any decision you want as long as you're not here at school.
They're
We're
leaving the school.
responsible for them. No. we're
They're leaving
responsible.
school. They should be able to make the decision to leave school.
So just because I want to go someplace today, I'm going to walk out of school?
They should have that right.
No, not if.
There's
not if you're-
repercussions. They have their grades to deal with. They still have attendance they have to deal with. There's all problems that they have to deal with. So that doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't go away.
They still have to watch their attendance. They still have to watch things.
What if I don't care? What if I'm the student at 18? I don't care. I'm just going to leave anytime I want
You
to.
wouldn't be here at 18. You would have dropped out at 17.
Maybe not. Maybe I just want to be a pain in the ass.
If you want to be a pain in the ass at the last 4 months of your high school career, do it. That's not very intelligent on you, if you ask me.
No, if those kids are enrolled in school, we are responsible.
I think you hold somebody, you could have more of a problem because you're holding them against their will. I think you're gonna have problems holding them against their will or as hostage. And you're creating a hostile environment
Oh,
is what you would do. And you tell the kids to submit to you. Bad choice of words.
Understood.
Respect.
Well, that's fair, but you're talking about emancipation, so request must be submitted. So that's what that, unless I'm misreading it.
That is not meant
All right there, I'm sorry. Procedure. Yeah, I disagree with the word choice. I agree.
The wording's horrible.
So I will run, I wanted to bring this up because these are board discussions I think we really should be having. I mean, our board policies, I'm going through more and more of them. We should be able to have these conversations, and they do come up. Not regularly, but they do come up. I want to make sure we go through that. I will take this specific one and I'll run it through our legal, and see what, that individual has to say. And if you're good with it, I'll bring it back to the next board meeting.
Mhm. I mean, other schools deal with this all the time, I'm sure.
I do. Yeah. We are in a little different, I can't say what the other ones have, obviously, because I don't think they're as close as we are, obviously, because of our location, Astoria and more, but they might be, I don't know, I'm checking on that, but, okay. All right, thank you.
Hopefully our legal will stand behind them, whatever they decide.
Is that it?
Hopefully our legal stands behind their board, whatever they decide. The last one told us we were in great shape. It cost us $5 million.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. That covers 9.7, 9.8. Any more discussion? Okay. We're here for 10.0 audience clarification. All right, covers 10.0. Board of Directors time.
Just glad everybody's back in school, having a good time. So keep up the good work and we'll get through it.
Well, I'm glad that we have some forward momentum on the water situation. It sounds like it could be a little bit protracted, but just keep going. That's very important. Super excited about that natural resources dinner fundraiser. That is fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
And just the thinking about our ag program. And I mean, there's a lot of wonderful pieces coming together. It's just very exciting. So, yay.
Yeah, no, got your hands cut out on the water one. That is not gonna be fun no matter what you go up with. Surface water is very difficult to deal with. But yeah, and the ag stuff, that is impressive. They do an amazing job with that, very much. Really good. Kids had a great time that went to it. Seemed to be really positive. And on this last few weeks, I know I've been probably a pain to a lot of the teachers, but not in a bad way. They've dealt with everything, been very good. the ones that I dealt with, worked with them very well. I appreciate all their time that they didn't have to put in. So I do appreciate and value everything that the staff has done. That should be about all I got, and thanks for your reports, for get you down there, and the time you ended up putting up with me. So, that's all I have for my time. So items for next month meeting?
I was gonna say the local service plan, that is again the ESD. I presented it last year. I'm gonna see if I can get a representative from the ESD to come out here.
They are.
Oh, they are.
I already.
Do we know who it is?
No, she just said someone's coming.
Okay.
I can ask her.
Okay. And then the panic alarm also, we kind of stalled there. I don't want to leave that alone. So I've been giving her some time, but I will jump back into that again.
Okay, and then you had your other one.
And then add the JEFA, JFD. So that's 9.7, I think. I have to check the legal on that one.
So,
And then local wellness, are you gonna?
Oh, and local wellness, correct. Thank you.
that was what I was thinking of, yeah. Got all that in?
Yeah.
All righty. And then we're down to a motion to adjourn 13.0.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Patty Jo? Yes. Michael Womack?
Yes.
And Jan Sonner.
Aye. I keep forgetting we have to do person call out sometime now.
All right, it is 7:26. Motion.
Sure.
Thanks for everybody coming.